Get Gutsy, episode number 113 with Kim Ferrara, and all humans live on a spectrum. Welcome to Get Gutsy. I'm your host, Jenny Fennig, and I am so excited to be on this journey with you. A cutting-edge show blending business and spirituality, Get Gutsy serves up a potent blend of stories, lessons, and tips to help you make a massive impact in the world through your soul's work and your inspired life. No more going it alone, no more excuses. The world needs more brave women saying yes to leadership. Are you with me? Good. Let's get gutsy now. Hey everybody, Jenny here. Welcome to Get Gutsy. Here we go. We're in the final month of 2016. I am just letting that sink in. It's always interesting when I get to the final month. I wonder, how did this happen? It's this whole thing, oh my gosh. And it has been an extraordinary year. Lots of highs, lots of lows, lots of, tundras, deserts, figuring it all out. So wherever you are in your journey, just know we've got you here. We're so happy that you're part of our community and that you're back for another amazing episode of our show. So today I have such a powerhouse woman on. I'm getting to know this gal in my mastermind, which is called Glow. We started a few months back, and when we had I saw her application come through, and then we had a conversation together. It was just like, oh my gosh, I love this woman. She is full of energy. She is full of positivity. She has such a mission, and she's on the show today. Her name is Kim Ferrara, and let me give you her official introduction, and then we have a lot of ground to cover, and so we're going to do just that. Kim Ferrara is president and founder of WiggleKids, an inclusive fitness studio offering fitness and movement activities for individuals of all ages and all abilities. Kim, welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you.
Yay, I'm so psyched you're here. So WiggleKids, we're going to get more into the conversation, but where are you based, and where's WiggleKids based?
WiggleKids is in Swansea, Massachusetts, and believe it or not, we're located inside of a shopping mall.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, which
interesting for a fitness studio.
Well, you get people who happen to be going shopping, or do some people drop their kids off and then go shopping, or how does that work?
It was kind of ironic. Shopping malls these days are quite vacant. There's a lot of empty space. Yeah. And it was just one of those opportunities that, make a very long story short, I needed a space once a week, and I went and asked to look at one of their empty storefronts, and they said, no, please, we have so much empty space. Take it full time. And I'm like, no, I'm not opening a gym. I just need 1 hour a week to teach my little toddlers. And they were like, no, please, we'll work with you. And it's just, circumstance. And we've kind of just gone from there. And they've been amazing because we're a destination place. They love having a spot in the mall that we bring people to the mall as opposed to just window shoppers. So it has worked out really nice. We've been there 4.5 years now. 4.5
years.
Yeah.
Okay. I love that. So Swansea, Massachusetts, that is how far from Boston?
About an hour south of Boston, probably about 20 minutes outside of Providence, Rhode Island. So we're in southeastern Mass.
Okay, yep. Got it. Okay, wonderful. So let's go back in time. Did you always know you were, like you said, you didn't think you were going to have a gym? You thought you would teach a, once a week toddler class. How did this all get started for you?
Kind of funny, actually. I have 3 children of my own. My daughters now are 6, 11, and 13. But back when they were little guys, you sign them up for all those little kid classes and sports and activities. And I did just that. And I was always, parents are allowed to get involved. And I was that crazy mom running around having fun with the kids, getting everybody excited. And come to find out, they just said, listen, you want a job here? So I ended up getting a job at a local indoor sports facility teaching classes. And the next thing you know, I'm teaching 15 classes a week, a couple hundred kids, and from ages 2 to probably 10-year-olds. And I just became that crazy coach that I could get the kids to do anything when they didn't fit the model of what the class was really trying to get them to do. And, the square peg in the round hole kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Not to their fault. It was just they had 6 locations. They had an outline program. That was their program. And I was just that coach that was able to spin it just enough to keep it the program, but make sure everybody was included. And so just from there, my town recreation department recognized they needed, a certain type of class to fill their docket and said, "You help us?" And so I said, "Sure, I'll do that, but I have to leave the place I'm at because I don't want that to be a conflict of interest. I don't burn bridges." And I did that. I left on very good terms and promised I would not do anything that they were doing. And started with one little toddler class every week. And that's, space got tough in the town. Like, when you're working with town buildings, you can't always get like the space on a consistency. And so that's when I went looking for that space at the mall. And then once I got the space at the mall, it was like, okay, this is real. Like, I got to do this.
Right. And so at the beginning, so you were like the town was paying you to offer up the classes? Oh. And then when you found that place in the mall, was the town still doing this with you, or had you gone out on your own?
No, they had actually said they weren't going to continue to support the class because they couldn't do it on a consistent basis because it just wasn't working with the schedule and the buildings that were available in town to offer it. Because I was like kind of jumping between the library and the old town hall and like all these different spaces, and it just wasn't good for the little guys. So I just kind of, again, bowed out respectfully and said, "That's okay. I'll look for space on my own." And because I didn't want to give up on these 8 little kids that were taking class every week.
So you had 8, your crew of 8. The crew of 8 just propelled you forward.
Yeah, 2-year-olds of all things.
Oh my gosh, that's so cute. You were committed to them. And so what kind of class was it? Why was it so special for you and for them?
It was an 8-week healthy habit and fitness class. So every week was a different theme. So the first week was like brush your teeth. And so we would do all these fun games like relay races to tell the difference between, different snacks that would, be healthy for your teeth and not healthy for your teeth, or, games that had to do with brushing your teeth. And at the end of class, they'd all get high fives and a toothbrush to go home. And then the next class was about taking a bath. And the next one was about going to bed on time. And no more monkeys jumping on the bed because it was all about going to bed theme. And so I tried to make it useful things that they could take from class and bring it back outside, back home. Read the book I gave them at the end of class so that we had just taken that class about getting your exercise and going to bed on time. And they would take that book and say, Coach Kim said, read this before bed tonight. And it's kind of translated into all my work because now the way things have grown, one of the biggest things we pride ourselves in is that our students take what they learn in the gym and use it outside in real life. So it's been kind of cool for me to see that where it started with the little guys and now it's translated through all of them.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That's so, and so when you were doing it with the town, were this parents or the kids, the families, were they paying for the classes or was that subsidized through the town?
They paid the town, and then the town had me. See, it was an interesting situation. I was the first one ever to do like a profit split with the town. So they paid the town, and then the town gave me a percentage of it.
Okay. And so when you went on your own, like it wasn't different for the families to be paying. Like they were still paying. Right. Okay, got it. I was trying to figure out like how did that evolution happen? I think it's important for our listeners to take in the roots of how this became what it is, how WiggleKids became what it is, and then how your business is evolving into a completely new level now, which we'll talk about, on this episode. So, okay, so you found this place. The shopping center was like, no, seriously, like just take the space. Like it's all good. We'll work it out. And how did you then start filling the space to go from your idea of like one class a week to saying, well, let's put some more on there because we have the space? What did that look like?
It was actually kind of interesting. At the same time I was doing that toddler class for the town, I had a very good friend, and she's still a very good friend, who was starting up something called Somerset Air. The name of the town we live in is Somerset, and the AIRE was AIRE. It was Adaptive Inclusive Recreation and Enrichment. And she had asked if I could take that toddler program and kind of raise it up to more of an elementary school level to work with children who had varying degrees of special needs. And so I was like, yeah, sure, why not? We can do that. And it turned out I ended up with 15 kids in that class, and they absolutely loved it. And it was all like 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th graders, maybe, all with autism or special needs. And it was great. It was absolutely wonderful. And so when I opened that studio at the shopping center, we started with the Wiggle Tots class and that class because they were having the same problem I was in town with the buildings and the space on their own. So I ran a class for them. I ran the toddler class, and I had this dream of doing so crazy as it sounds, a hip hop hippity hop ball class where you would jump on those balls with the handles. Remember those when you were a kid? So I could just picture like kids jumping around on those things to music in a big open space as an exercise class. So I immediately got all the stuff to do that. And then I, believe it or not, had taken a belly dancing class with a friend of mine at the gym. And interesting experience. They brought out all these big round yoga balls and put them on buckets with drumsticks at the end as the cool down. And I was like, okay, what is this and why didn't we do this the whole time? And come to find out, that's when I discovered what Drums Alive was, cardio drumming. And I went right online, found out where it was, how to get trained, drove 2.5 hours away the next week, got trained in it, certified instructor. And so I started the studio with that as well. So I had 4 classes when I opened. I had the Drums Alive for the kids, I had the toddlers, I had the special needs class, and the hippity hop ball class. And that was it.
Wow. Love it. Love it. And you were teaching all of them?
I was teaching all of them, and then we started adding birthday parties. And then it just kind of kept growing. Like more and more friends got wind of the fact that I was working with those who had autism and special needs. And they were like, well, can my child try it? I'm like, of course they can. Well, can my child try it? Of course they can. And next thing you knew, I had so many kids, I had to start expanding and finding more for them to do. And it was really kind of neat because one parent referred to it as the kids were gap kids. Like they're stuck in this gap of some of them are too high functioning to be in like hardcore special needs classes, but still don't fit in what we would consider typical or normal like sports and karate and dance and all that kind of stuff that's usually offered for in general children. So I decided to take the crazy fitness route, hippity hop balls, scooter boards, mini trampolines. We teach laughing yoga. I mean, I kind of go off the wall with stuff that nobody else does, but yet you can definitely make them into games and movement and social skills. So it worked out really nice for all ages, all abilities. Everybody can do it together.
Yeah. And when did you start layering in other coaches, getting help, saying, wow, this is growing. This is beyond my 1 class a week that I thought I'd be doing. When did you realize like, okay, this is a real business. We've got to take things to another level.
Well, so when people realized that we were now a new birthday party venue that they could try, believe it or not, the first coach I hired was to help me with the birthday parties because I knew a birthday party of 20 kids running around I could not handle by myself. So we opened in June of 2012. I'd probably say going into the new year of 2013 is when I realized, okay, this is a thing, we can do this. And I had also signed on a set of classes with adults with disabilities that were coming to the mall all the time and sitting at the food court chairs and tables in front of my studio, talking to me every week when they would come to eat their lunch and go for a walk.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, why couldn't they do the Drums Alive? So I talked to their organization and we got them booked. And still to this day, they are still coming since the fall of 2012, right?
Fabulous. Fabulous. And you saw like a group that was not being served and you put it out there and they're still coming.
And it was just such common practice for me, because when I started noticing the regular basis they were coming, I would make sure I went out there and had my coffee with them and talk with everybody. They were just like my new group of friends. And so why wouldn't I want to just hang out with them and play with them and drum with them? And it just, I don't know, it's just kind of the way I am. I'm one of those people that can make a friend waiting in line anywhere. So
yeah, I know. You just have this energy, this way about you. And I know that's why your studio has grown so much and you're just doing it. So you've been in business 4.5 years, you said?
So 5 years since I started that very first toddler class in the summer of 2011, but we've been in the studio. This December will be 4.5 years.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. All right. And what are you most excited by as you look to what the studio itself?
So, the fact that word has really spread, I have to admit, this community, when they find something that works, when they find something they trust, not that parents don't look for things they trust, but when your child doesn't have adversity to overcome per se, you're probably not as laser focused in on the minute details of who, what, when, why, how is happening when your child takes an activity. This community is. And so when you earn that trust with them, they tell everyone. And so it's been kind of nice to see that we've been growing 50% a year every year since we opened, just by organic word of mouth and all the events we do and the classes we teach. So it's been controlled growth, I guess. I mean, I'm up to 10 coaches on my staff now, 22 classes a week. So I'm excited to see that after 4.5 years, there's still people coming to us like, oh my God, we didn't know you existed.
Right. I know, it's so funny. You're like, how did you not know? Not everybody knows.
I've saturated this. Like, really? There's still people in my own town that don't know I do this? Like, this is crazy. So I'm excited for the studio that way. And then, now looking forward, I just want to duplicate it. Like, I want to see this happening in other communities.
Right.
Like, it really shouldn't just be Swansea, Massachusetts only.
Right, exactly. And so that's really, well, before we get into that, how you're doing that, like that vision and a piece of why you joined Glow, that my mastermind is to really clone yourself and not just clone yourself, but to clone the concept, clone this vision and help more people, help more people. Tell us more about when you had won some big contest, like through Intuit? Because that's a really cool story, because I think that's a super fun story I want the listeners to know.
Oh, that was the universe and its workings. Let me tell you, I am truly a believer of the laws of attraction. And I use QuickBooks for my accounting. And I'm one that, when I see little opportunities, they had like a thing that came through by email one day. If you fill in these next 6, requests, and it was silly things like post a picture of you burning the midnight oil, which I'm pretty good at.
Like, check. Yeah.
Last night was one of them. It's silly, like a quote that inspires you, or, some big milestone at your studio. It was very simple things to do, but you had to do it during specific dates. So it spanned over like weeks of time, and they had little things. So whatever, I went through it and filled them all out to win a $500 gift card. That's all I was aiming for. I'm like,
wow.
$500 would buy me some great, pieces of equipment. So I did that, and they ended up, without me realizing it, choosing me out of 15,000 businesses that also did that, to be in the top 10 of a bigger contest that they called the Small Business Big Game, to win a commercial in the Super Bowl, which just blows my mind, because I was sitting on vacation, at a lake house in New Hampshire with my family. Just honestly, as a business owner, sometimes you get to that point, like, I need help. This is it. I've taken a paycheck 2.5 years, like, money's starting to run out. I can't keep draining my savings account. I got to keep serving these people. Something's got to give. Like, I need help.
Right.
That day, I got a phone call from the QuickBooks people, like, hey, we're considering you for the top 10. And I'm like, wait, what? What are you talking about? And I got on a Skype with the team, and they asked me all these questions. I had the whole team crying, like I'm bawling, trying to explain what I do. And they're like, oh my goodness, that's amazing. And it was such a great call. And I got off of that, and I looked at my husband. I'm like, I don't know what just happened, but I won $10,000, even if I come in dead last. And he's looking at me like, what? So it was great. We got the call Monday morning that we were chosen, and everybody had to vote online, and they flew us out to San Jose, California, but not before Bill Rancic from The Apprentice came out to my studio. We got to watch Oprah live speak. We got to see Jessica Alba. I had a meet and greet with Robert Herjavec from Shark Tank. Yeah. It was really, really cool. There was a lot of networking. I mean, I have Bill Rancic's cell number, for God's sake. That is just insane. But not that I call him or he texts me or anything.
But you could.
As I could.
Yeah. And what did that experience teach you?
Oh, go big or go home. Like, seriously, like I had read all those things about setting goals for yourself. And I think it was after that experience, I went back and I looked and said, well, what were my goals for myself? I'm like, my goodness, I was making goals as I was achieving them. That's not goal setting. That's not goal setting. That's not dreaming big enough. And I read all those motivational books and listen to the speakers, and they talk about the dream big stuff, like the big stuff that you almost think no way, no how. And I truly believe you have to. Because, what are the chances that little WiggleKids in Somerset, Massachusetts would have been on the Super Bowl? As it was, I was on stage in front of thousands of people presenting my work. Like, that was crazy to me. So it opened up tons of doors, and we got a lot of exposure. I had news crews camping out in the parking lot, like stalking me, calling me if they could interview us. And we were on every news channel. It was a great experience that taught me, you know what? Sky's the limit. Sky's the limit.
And spend the time putting in your answers for a $500 gift card. You just don't know where that might lead. And that's so cool. You know, our listeners, you know, you think about those emails that you get in your inbox that you're like, oh, they're looking for the next one. I'm not going to get picked. Let me just delete that. I mean, that's what I went through recently when I finally applied to win a Stevie Award for Women in Business for Coach of the Year. I had looked at that award thing for years. I had some coaches, mentors who had won several years back, and it was always in the back of my mind, but I would just ignore it. Like, oh, I have so many other things I need to do. I would apply and I probably wouldn't win, and I would just be disappointed. And let me just stay focused on other things. But when you get to that point in your business, like you said, where you just say something's got to give. Like I'm at a plateau, or I'm running out of steam, and we got to shake some things up here. You have to listen to that. It's so important to shake things up when you just feel like you are at a loss for how this can go to another level. That, as a CEO, as the head of your operation, as the visionary, you got to listen to that, because your job is to help this thing grow. Your job is to stay in business, number one, and to look creatively for what can be done, and often it's just under our nose, to get some more visibility, to bring some cash into the business, to have more fun too, you know, to have a crazy experience where like Bill Rancic does come to your studio and that you go fly out to California. Like that just gives you that ammunition, that courage to say, okay, let's go, like let's stay in. I do have something here. Oh my gosh, that is such a rad story, and I'm so glad that you did that. Wow, that'll go in your book one day, girl. I know you got a book inside of you. That's a good story.
Oh, you have no idea. The story's racking up.
Yeah. How do you do it? So you got your 3 girls, you have your husband. How do you say manage, but like just how do you figure out the logistics of being a business owner with a lot on your plate and a mother and a wife?
You know what? It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy for a long time, because I'm definitely a very driven and motivated person, sometimes to my own fault. When I see the end or goal or a mission, like I'm kind of one of those people that gets on the train running 150 miles an hour and forget it. Like I'm not stopping until I get there. So I've definitely learned to leave less people in my wake. Not going to lie, it's or things or sacrifices. But you know, in the beginning, they always say, don't they say that like, you know, 75% of the work is done up front. Like that's like the bulwark is done. So
yes.
You know, 5 years in, I can look back and say, "Oh, good God, I have no idea how I did it." Now, I honestly, I don't. Like, it was many nights up. I remember when I decided I was going to do this hardcore, I took on getting certified as a youth fitness trainer, which took me 9 months of like studying late at night and writing case studies and essays and doing 200 multiple choice questions on quizzes online in the middle of the night when my kids went to bed. And it was that kind of stuff, like all the education, because remember, I didn't ever think I was going to open a studio, but I wanted to be a credible studio owner, a credible fitness, you know, person. So I got cracking on the education side of it to make sure that I was going to serve my people well.
Right.
And crazy mom and lots of fun will only take you so far. And then there's got to be some method to the madness. So
yes, well said. All of our listeners take that in. You do. I mean, especially with you are a fitness coach and you know, really a business leader. You know, many of our listeners they call themselves coaches, and maybe it's a coach in a different realm, like a wellness coach or a business coach or an organizational life coach. You know, plug in whatever is relevant. But it is so important. That's why I have my coaching school, Kim, because I agree. You want to have substance behind what you're doing, because these are lives. These are people, you know, and it's not even just the person. It's everyone who is connected to the person, to the client, to the student. And to just call yourself a coach, but not really have any of that, that foundation, that expertise, that training to back you up, I feel you're not doing the work justice. So you're such a solid example of a woman who takes the work seriously, and I feel like that's a big reason for your success. And I totally understand the whole knowing how you got it all done over the last several years. I look back on my path too, and I've made a lot of sacrifices. A lot of those late nights or early getting up super early, 5 a.m. You got to get creative with how you're going to find those hours. It's like, okay, I really need like 2 hours to crack this out. Sometimes it's not little 15-minute dribs and drabs. Like you need that consistent chunk to process something, to really make some headway. And, especially when you have got kids, families, whatever the circumstances are, you've got to commit. You have to be 1,000% committed. And when you are, you'll get to another level in the business where you may be able to chill a little bit. It's like, okay, you don't have to do late nights every night. maybe one or two. You can go on that vacation. You can pay yourself even more and more and more. But there tends to be that period up front where you've got to be willing to sacrifice. And I think for our listeners, this is a very, very important point to make. This isn't just a place you can come. It's not just like a party straight out of the gate where you're like, woo, I'm kicking my feet up and like everything's done and whatevs. It's like, no, this is freaking hard work. For many, I just say, don't leave your corporate job. You got it going on there. You have to be willing to make some trade-offs to build what you're building in the world. So well done on that, Kim. I know this is just evolving in such beautiful ways for you. Okay, and so you realize like, hey, there's so many lives. I mean, you're still touching lots of lives at your studio. There's still people who haven't heard of you yet, and they're coming in and they're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I'm so happy you're here. And when we connected, you were at this place of, okay, I'm ready to evolve this. I'm ready to take this out into other communities without perhaps you being the one to do it, right? To build out, WiggleKids and all these different spots around the country or even around the world. So let's talk about how you're doing that. What is this next piece of your work outside of WiggleKids?
Well, I think, just touching upon what we were just talking about, the evolution of like how I got where I am, it did take a lot of blood, sweat, and tears and a lot of sacrifice. And one of the things that I am always truly grateful for is my husband having that full-time job that allowed me to pursue this, number one, because he was able to provide for the family. And trust me, like I said, it wasn't always easy. I mean, I think we celebrated one of our anniversaries in couples therapy. I'm not going to lie.
Love it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it takes you to the depths of like where's the bottom line of the sacrifice. But he's and not because so much of the business. It's because he's always been the one to push. He's the one that pushes me outside the comfort zone. I took him to look at that space, and he was like, "Nope, you're opening a studio." And I'm like, "Well, are you out of your mind? Like, I can't know." And he's like, "You're doing this." Like, and it only reminds me so much more now because. So when you said duplicate the work, there were folks that have been asking. I'm like, I'm not ready. And I hate to say no because I'm not one that's good at saying no. Like the reason I got to where it was is I said yes to everything because I wanted to try everything and see what worked. Mm-hmm. But when you realize you can't keep saying yes all the time, you have to start saying no. I knew I wasn't ready. So as things came along and I was starting to get to this place where, I'm getting good at my systems. I'm getting good at the process. I've got people on board. I'm starting to build a team. Things are starting to go okay. I'm taking a paycheck for the first time in 4 years. Like, all right, I can do this. Like now I can start thinking about duplicating this. But halfway through our business, life here with WiggleKids, we went nonprofit, which was huge for us because I realized very quick when you start looking at your numbers and the money and the forecasting and the budgeting, my personal piggy bank was not going to sustain the growth because I didn't have this big influx of capital, investment to like open WiggleKids. I took $5,000 out of my savings account, bought a whole lot of paint and flooring and opened up a gym. Like it was, and then didn't take a paycheck for 3 years so I could keep pumping the money back in. So going nonprofit allowed us to write for grants and to go after donations and fundraising that people could make, tax deductions on their side for donating to us helping. And it was helping serve a community of those, who
were underserved.
Yeah, I mean, I hate using the word special needs. It's just not in my vocabulary because we don't diss the abilities. We don't like to say disabilities. We're always about the abilities of people. But the fact of the matter is that when you go out looking for grants, the special needs community, there are big chunks of money and little, you go for the little, because I'm not going to get the same amounts of money as like those big organizations,
right?
The Special Olympics and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Like those are earmarked for big guys. I'm trying to find the little stuff, and enough of the little stuff makes a difference.
Yeah. So that's smart. So you moved into the nonprofit status, and so that has been a real great evolution for WiggleKids.
Yes. So that allowed me to have some, and the $10,000 from QuickBooks last year put us in a situation where I knew I had some cushion. So I could step away from the business and pay my coaches to take over. Because, what happens when you don't have the payroll? You do all the work yourself because you can sacrifice your own pay.
Yep.
But I knew if I was going to break out and start duplicating the work, I needed to pay someone else to continue my duties at the studio.
Yep.
So when we knew we were in a good place to do that, I started looking for someone to get rid of that learning curve for me. And that someone was you.
Hooray!
And it was so funny, Jenny. It was such a universe thing. Like, how Facebook and the internet tends to start trending towards, it knows what you're looking for and it starts popping things up. And
oh, yeah. It's like read your mind. You're like, how is this happening? Yeah.
It's a little creepy, actually.
It is. In a fabulous way, but also kind of like, wow, where is this all going?
Yeah. And it was funny because I looked into some other programs, maybe purchased a few little evergreen videos here and there, and I'd read some books, and I'm like, this just isn't it. Like, because I've always truly believed in the calling of the universe, and if you just kind of allow things to open up, probably didn't practice it enough. As I go on, I do definitely more and more. And then I saw your offering for spiritual entrepreneur coach, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is it. And I signed up for your webinar. Actually, I think I signed up for one of your, I'm not going to lie to you now, you may find something funny about me. I think I signed up for one of your challenges, and I completely forgot to do it.
And then you were doing a $500, yeah, but hey, honey, it's okay. It got you in. That's why as a creator, and it's good for our listeners to take in, you offer up these various things because someone might come in, they don't take action on the thing that they opted in for, but they're still in your community. And so then the next time you offer something different, they're like, oh, wait, that's right. What happened? I didn't do the thing, but I'm going to do this other one. Mm-hmm.
And that was so great because then it was a webinar you were doing. And I know I took notes, and I'm so into Glow now, and I know it was a webinar that was eventually leading to you talking about your Glow program, but you had put some other juicy stuff in there for us to learn, and I really took that and I ran with that stuff. But at the end of it, and I'm laughing because I signed on to your webinar, and I'm like, okay, this woman might just be as fun and crazy and spontaneous as I am. Like when it comes to stuff, like you had such a personality from the minute I signed on to that webinar. I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, maybe. And then as you kept going, I'm like, oh my God, this woman's in my head. Like, get out of my head. And it was so great. Like, I hung up and went upstairs to my husband, and I'm like, okay, this is the deal. And the same thing he did to me with WiggleKids. He's like, you're wired for this. Just do it. And I'm like, okie dokie.
I love your husband. Tell him thank you.
Yeah, I do too. I've groomed him well, I guess, by this point. He just knows.
Well, they know what they're getting themselves into somewhat. That's why they married us. We still give him, I'm speaking for myself with my husband, like I still keep him on his toes because he's like, what? Wait. But this is what initially attracted them to us, and so here we are. That's so cool. And so then you took that next step, you joined Glow. You're amazing. We're about halfway through our journey, our 6-month journey. We're going to be hanging out in Costa Rica in a matter of weeks. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I've never been there. You've never been there, have you, or have you?
I haven't left the country.
You never left the country. That's right. You got your first ever passport. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, back when I went to Aruba on my honeymoon, 16 years ago, you didn't need a passport to go to Aruba, so I had to go get one. It was pretty cool.
I know. Oh my gosh, that makes it even more exciting. And so what are you building out? What was this? Because you've considered different things. You considered, like, did you want to go to the franchising route? How did you want to do this? And through lots of, introspection and coaching and, just research and all of it, you've landed in a really good spot. So let's talk about that.
So one of the interesting things about, things happen for a reason, right? So I went nonprofit just to meet the needs of what was going on at the time, but little did I know it would serve a bigger purpose later on. Number one, being a nonprofit, you cannot sell a nonprofit for capital. So that ensured that I would never not serve my people because I couldn't just sell my business and walk away from it. You cannot franchise a nonprofit, from my understanding. You have to open local chapters with each their own board of advisors and each their own business entity. Not what I'm looking to do right now. That is just a whole lot of energy to police a whole nother team of people. That's not what I'm about.
Right.
People talk to me about licensing it, kind of like a Drums Alive or a Zumba or TRX or like one of those fitness programs.
Right.
It could be the WiggleKids way. But to me, that's putting a bunch of rules on it. And that totally goes against what our mission is, to be flexible, to hold space for people to grow in their own time, in their own way. If I start putting all these restrictions that I have to police so that it fits, the WiggleKid name, then that's putting the square peg in the round hole again. And that's exactly what I created it for, was get away from that.
Yeah, love it.
So I decided that, when you do things for the greater good and not for your own, things tend to work out the way you want them. So I decided to turn this into a coaching program of sorts, where I just coach people now on how I do what I do, why I do what I do, where I do what I do. And you can call it whatever you want. It really doesn't matter to me. Put it, if you're a PE teacher, you want to put it into your lessons in the gymnasium. If you're a fitness instructor and think it'll work with what you're doing, if you want to open a studio and do exactly what I did, by all means. If you just want to take it on the road and do after school programs and visit preschools or senior care facilities, I can teach you that too, because we've done that. But call it what you want. Make it yours, because when you do that, you're going to serve your people in your community in your way, and it's just going to grow out of its own uniqueness and love. So, I can't imagine doing it any other way, because that's the only way I know how to do it, because that's how I did it.
Right. I mean, and what you're building out, it's in alignment with who you are and what you believe. It is a complete representation of your values, and that is what I want our listeners to take away. You've got to do this in a way where you can sleep at night, where you can look at yourself in the mirror and say, I'm doing it my way. This feels really good. And you just really have started putting this out there. And I think you followed the questions from your audience. They were asking you for this, and you had to go figure out, how can you say yes at a time that works for you, when you do feel ready, when you feel like you've got your brick and mortar operation solid, or you're like, I can do this now. I'm not going to like freaking explode or burn out and not be available for my family because I'm saying yes to people. But once you were in that position, you already had those fans, super fans, who were like, please, please, please. And then you figured out, okay, here's how I'm going to be able to say yes. And you're off to the races. Like, you have people who are saying yes, who are hiring you. And how excited are you about this next level of the mission?
Jenny, I can't even explain the level of gratitude for everything that has just come into alignment for me since I bumped into your webinar. I mean, honestly, because I really have gotten better at the scheduling of my time and my energy, and I've said no to things that are not serving me, and I keep fine-tuning that and in a polite and kind way, but I'm making sure that I'm working 1 inch wide and 10 feet deep instead of the other way around, like you do when you start a business. I mean, there's a reason why everybody that grows the way they grow doesn't do it in the first week. Like, it takes time and energy and experience and highs and lows and goods and bads and learning curves. And so I'm really excited that this has happened the way it has, because I'll tell you, Glow, that was a big deal for me.
To make the investment.
That was huge for me, to make the investment financially, to make the investment professionally, because I knew I was going to have to be like, you know what, all hands up, like, you are a student now, you're going to listen, you're going to learn, you're going to take in, you're going to just do the work. And I didn't think I'd be launching anything until after Glow was over. And I remember, right, I wrote my strategic plan for you, and I'm like, oh my God, what is wrong with me? Like, I'm trying to create all these 15 levels of like how to enter the market, and people just want to pay me for the big kahuna like right now. And you're like, Kim, stop, throw it in the trash, take the clients,
Yeah.
and go with it. They want what you have, just do it.
Yes, so easy to overcomplicate. We're like, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to have my lower one. I'm going to do the $47, and then I'm going to do the $197, and then I'm going to do, and then eventually I'll do the thing where actually is the easiest. And it's going to pay me the best. And so what I am so excited was like, Kim, you people, they're ready to freaking give you the money like today, and you can do it, and it will be fun for you. And it is so in alignment with your mission. Do that. Allow that money, and the experience that you're going to get when you work with people in this capacity. Because you're basically taking everything that you've learned over the last 5+ years and just going, okay, let me teach you. I'm going to shorten your learning curve. Like you're doing to them what I'm doing for you. You see?
Yep.
And so they're paying you really good money to teach them, and then eventually you do enough of that, you'll get to do the other things that you're excited about, building out different maybe information products or experiences for those who are at different places in their journey, and you'll get there. But when we can focus on bringing in the bigger fish, and the money that can sustain you, and you have a very good money mindset. I know you've done a lot of work on that, but to really just say to yourself, like, I'm allowed to earn great money from sharing my expertise and consulting with somebody so that they can go change lives in their community. And that's where you are right now.
That was a big turning point in my career, I have to be honest, was when I stopped feeling guilty for wanting to take a paycheck. Because when you're in the nonprofit sector, there's some very interesting presentations and TED Talks and stuff out there that are about folks that, when you really think about it, nonprofit organizations are trying to solve the biggest humanitarian problems in the world, but they expect you all to do it for free.
Uh-huh.
And when you think about it, it's like, how backwards is that?
I know.
You want the smartest minds in the world to solve the biggest problems, but you want them to do it on their own dime or for nothing. It's not sustainable.
Right.
So when I stopped feeling guilty about, what? If I'm not in business, I help no one.
Yeah. Yeah. If you can't support your family, if your relationship, comes to an end because, you were just so head down, but it was causing lots of strife. And, thank you for sharing that couples therapy piece. That's really smart. My husband and I have gone through ups and downs. We've been in couples therapy before ourselves, and we went to a couples retreat several years back, which led to us moving from New York City to the Berkshires, which is where we live now. Proud residents of Massachusetts, as are you. You had to be willing to look at things with eyes wide open and say, hey, you know what? Like, what can we do to make this better? What can we do to make this easier? What can we do to make this more fun? And that's exactly what you're doing. So, Kim, if our listeners, I know they're going to want to check you out. You have such infectious energy. Number one, if they are close to WiggleKids, where can they go find out more about WiggleKids, or just they want to check it out?
Yeah, our website is www.wigglekids.org.
Okay, cool. WiggleKids.org. And then if they want to go find out about consulting with you, checking out what you've got there, if they're like, oh my gosh, I want to bring this into my community, and they want help on it, how can they get in touch with you, find out more information online about that?
So I started a separate website for the coach training stuff, just to keep it a little separated from the day-to-day activities of the studio. And that website is now www.behumanu.com. So it's BE, the word human, and the letter U.com. And that is the name of the training program, Be Human, because I truly believe that all humans live on a spectrum. I know people talk about the autism spectrum disorder, and I'm sorry, that's what makes us all just such unique and fabulous individuals, is that we all have differences, no matter what those are. I know that is not to take away from those who have some that, affect their daily living. But I do think that there's enough adversity and uniqueness and challenges and celebrations in each one of us that there's a place for all of us on that spectrum. So I kind of fell into the Be Human as my code name here.
Yeah, it's a great brand. It's perfect
for you. The next one. So Absolutely. If you keep thinking Be Human, there's also a Facebook group, Be Human You, that is open to anyone who's interested in following the work and just kind of absorbing the energy of that group. I accept all folks into that group that are serious about learning more. So.
Excellente, girl. You're doing it. You're doing it. You're doing it. All right. Final question time. Kim, what is the gutsiest move you've ever made, and how does it inspire your life and work today?
You know what? I think, like you said, the head down thing. I think when I finally picked my head up and truly believed in me, I think that was my gutsiest move, because that's when everything turned on a dime and just started blasting forward. Because up until then it was, no, I don't really have a thing. Like, what do you mean I have a thing? Like, this is a thing. This is actually like something people want to do. Some people want to learn how to do this. So when I said, you know what, gosh darn it, yes, this is a thing, and you're really good at it, and you can serve other people by doing it and teaching it. When I finally said yes, and that was it. That was scary for me to do that. So for me, it was gutsy to just say yes to myself, because I'm that person that puts everybody else first. So when I finally put me first in my abilities and my potential, now sky's the limit. So it's been awesome.
You got it going on. Yeah, it's amazing. And I can't ever see you not believing in you, but just the energy that you have now. But I know it's been a journey, and I think this is a piece of what you teach and what you bring to the table, not only for your students who come through your doors at WiggleKids, or your coaches who you train, but those who you're consulting with now, to take this work, this powerful work, and bring it into their local communities. I'm so glad that we get a chance to work together. I'm so glad you signed up for whatever it was and didn't do it, and then it's like, hey, she's doing this webinar, I'll do that. And then I will never forget when your application came through. I was like, oh my God. I was like, this woman sounds amazing.
I was definitely at that point, like, I'm ready to make decisions. I'm ready to do the work. Show me the way.
You sure were. And we got on that call, and I was like, okay, you are the one who was reminding me why I have this type of program, why I have this, high level mastermind, and I have those not everybody is ready. Not everybody has that energy or that commitment or that just enthusiasm for the work and from learning from someone like me. And so speaking for me, like when I get on the phone with like a Kim, I'm in so much gratitude, like brought to my knees going, okay, God, thank you for reminding me. This is why I do all the work. This is why I have those blood, sweat, and tears, those late nights sometimes, finishing up the offer, like finishing up the email sequence that we're going to send out, or putting up the Facebook post or the ads or whatever. It's like, because I get the opportunity to work with a woman like you, Kim. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing your story. All of our listeners, go and check her out. Kim, you are going to go so far. I know it feels like you've done a lot, and you have, but I honestly feel like this is just the beginning for you, and you are going to touch so many more lives, especially with the way that your work is evolving. So well done, girlfriend. And we have so much more good stuff that we're going to do in Glow, and then Costa Rica. So all you listeners will definitely post photos from Costa.
Can't wait.
I know. It's going to be rad. And like your first time, you get that first stamp in the passport. I can help facilitate that.
Jenny, it's so funny you just said that. I'm looking at my passport going, it's so empty. Jenny, you're going to be my first.
Yeah. Just wait. And it won't be the last, because once you have that taste, you realize, wow, there's a whole big world out there. And as your business starts earning more, right? Now you're bringing in some of these contracts. Like, just think about what that is going to do for your family and for your ability to go, to go to a vacation in Europe or in Hawaii or some other place on this gorgeous planet that we get to live on, and do that. And that's the neat thing about the business. When we get in alignment and we realize, like, oh wait, we can earn money from this, and good money. Not even the sky's the limit, the galaxy's the limit. So keep rocking, Kim, and all you listeners out there, thank you for being here. Keep coming back. This is Jenny Fenig sending you so much love, light, and faith as you get gutsy. I will see you next time.
Hey, this is John Lee Dumas of EO Fire, and you're listening to Get Gutsy with Jenny Fenig. Gutsy leaders unite and ignite.
This episode of Get Gutsy was brought to you by Get Gutsy Coach Training School. This is the program teaching the future generation of coaches how to make a difference and a great living. So if you haven't figured it out by now, I have built my business around this calling of a coach. That is what my podcast is based on. My book is based on that. The courses and programs that I've developed over the years have really allowed this calling of me being a coach to get unleashed in the world in such a massive way. And I am able to be a confident coach because I went through coach training. I learned what it took to be strong and supportive for my clients, and also how to be a phenomenal entrepreneur, a smart marketer, and a savvy business owner. And I realized that there was a total gap in the market for those of you out there who want to train under a successful coach, a successful entrepreneur, someone who walks her talk, is able to provide that gorgeous sacred container for you to claim your expertise and gifts, for you to package up the gorgeous value that you add to the world, and for you to be able to create a lifestyle that is beyond your wildest dreams, for you to be able to help as many people as you care to during this lifetime. And truly, being a coach is just, it's completely epic. So we are in the throes of our enrollment period for Coach Training School. I invite you to check it out. It is going to be absolutely extraordinary. We'd love to serve you in Coach Training School. Come on over and check it out. It teaches you exactly what you need to know now to truly make it as a coach, and you will not find anything in the market quite like this or at such a huge value. Come check us out, coachtrainingschool.com. That's coachtrainingschool.com. Gutsy coaches unite.